Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
This is FunBelt Commissioner Keith Gill, and I listen to the FunBelt podcast.
This is the FunBelt podcast, part of the Believe Network.
Folks, to Dusty Thibodeau of Warhawk Report, Jeremy Harper of Howlraiser, and Shane Metlin of the Daily News Record.
I think it's potentially a very good week for the Sunbelt.
But I'm just kind of going off on a random rant. It's just frustrating.
So last week, guys, here's how I summed up week one. I said there are two types of Sunbelt teams. There are Sunbelt teams that are 1-0, and there's Sunbelt teams that are 0-1. And now I can kind of go back and say this. There are Sunbelt teams that are 1-1, or there are Sunbelt teams that are 0-2, but there are only two Sunbelt teams. After 2 weeks, there are 2-0, and that's Texas State and Appalachian State. Fellas, welcome back to the show. Shane Metlin from Daily News Record, Dusty Thibodeau from the revamped, renewed, much better Warhawk Report. Guys, welcome back to the show. Week two, kind of a shit show.
Shannon Terry hates the G6.
A little bit of inside joke. We'll just let that hang. In the meantime, Shane, I'm feeling very nervous about the state of the Sun Belt. And I know that the Sun Belt has played some pretty good teams, but they've also played some teams that should have gotten beat or should have gotten beat. Among those teams, I felt like Louisville versus James Madison. I thought Louisville should have been beaten. They weren't beaten. JMU put up a good fight, came out on the short end of the stick, but I felt disappointed by that result, Shane Metlin. How does JMU Nation feel about it?
No, you weren't alone in feeling disappointed in that. I don't know. Do you guys follow, Parker Fleming on?
Yeah, sure, a little bit.
Like he posts every week. He posts a lot of stats, but he posts one every week. It was like his graphic of like, did we really get beat that bad? And it's a graphic. It's a graph of success rate. Yeah, and basically, how successful you were on each individual play during a game, and typically, if you come out on the positive side of that, you have a really good shot of winning. Typically, if you're on the positive side at like a 0.1 level, like you're winning in a blowout. JMU was 0.12 against against Louisville. Like, it was two big plays on offense that they gave up. They couldn't really get anything going offensively themselves in the second half. And even with that, like the yardage, the first downs, all the things were pretty much even. A really good defensive performance by JMU that just kind of went to waste. And that was a really big opportunity that got away.
So this dual quarterback thing they were doing with Sluka and Barnett, is Barnett just not 100%? So they want to get in Sluka, or was the plan to do this sort of confusing dual quarterback system where Sluka just did nothing but run, and then Barnett was to bringing a passing game?
Yeah, I think it's been the plan to do a two quarterback thing. Exactly what that plan was, we haven't really known. And I can't imagine that the plan was to be that transparent that like Sluka's going to run, Barnett's going to pass. But they just repeatedly got themselves into the situation where Sluka would run on first and second down. And then you're bringing Barnett in on 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, where he's throwing the ball. Barnett can run a little bit himself. Sluka's not a great passer, but like you got to mix them in every once in a while. Yeah. It was almost there's plenty of people in JMU land who are like, you got to scrap two quarterbacks. You got to pick one. I'm not quite there yet. I think that could work, but it felt like you should have been the opposite to me. You should have been like going like Barnett on first down, like where he could run or throw. You keep him off balance and get yourself into a third and short situation where then Sluka can get a couple yards almost any time on the ground. It felt backwards to me almost that they were the way they're doing it in the second half. We'll see what kind of adjustments they make with that. Like I said, I'm not personally I still think the two quarterback thing could really work if you get clever and creative about it, but I just don't think they were very clever with it on Friday.
Dusty Thibodeau, I don't subscribe to a whole lot of sporting cliches, but one I believe in wholeheartedly is if you have two quarterbacks, you have zero quarterbacks. How do you feel about that, Tibbs?
You're talking to somebody from ULM where we had Barry Ball with two quarterbacks in the backfield at the same time. I love the idea. I think you can yin and yang, but kind of like Shane was talking about, you can't have, all right, Barnett's in, we know he's going to run. Saluka's in, he's just going to pass, or vice versa, or whatever it was. You got to be able to mix it up and really have that two-dimensional offensive side from each quarterback. Otherwise, you're just going to scheme around and know exactly what's coming to you as soon as you see whoever lines up in the backfield. So you got to mix it up. You can't just have one guy, 1A and a 1A1 type of situation.
Yeah, I know Arkansas State played around with that situation a couple years ago. They had two quarterbacks that, quite frankly, either one of them could have started. And rather than break the news to one of them and say, listen, you're just going to have to sit, they made them 1A and 1B. And literally, they would just play every other series. And it worked sometimes, but for the most part, it just, I think, made a lot of confusion and people unhappy. So I don't know, Shane. I don't know if that's going to be the solution there for JMU and for Coach Bob Chesney. Maybe that'll work out. But right now, it didn't translate into a win. There just wasn't enough offense. Hey, listen, the Cardinals play good defense. The Cardinals can run the ball, right? And they didn't run the ball at all, except for that one unfortunate 50-yard run that kind of broke the camel's back at the end. It was a thrilling game. I did enjoy it. I like defensive struggles. A lot of people don't. I do. It was just a shame that JMU could not close escrow on that game. I was hoping Shane would jump in with I
thought you heard enough from me.
Some kind of coda, but that's fine. Hey, but I do want to stick with the East a little bit more, Shane, because I thought another disappointing game that came out of the Sun Belt came out of the East, and that was Marshall falling to Missouri State at Marshall at their own house. That seemed a little crushing to me.
Yeah, I really thought Marshall would take care of business at home against Missouri State. They didn't. Yeah, then I think the rebuild's going to take longer than maybe we expected or hoped with Marshall. I'm not going to judge, really any program with a first-year coach too harshly in the first few games. But, yeah, that's one you think when you're putting together a schedule and you look at Marshall, you're thinking, okay, that's one they really ought to win. If they're going to get a few wins this year, Missouri State at home is one you're kind of counting on.
Yeah. And you had said it earlier. You had said it last week. If the Sun Belt's going to be calling itself one of the best group of five conferences in college football, you got to win games against Missouri State. You've got to win those games. And we're just not winning those games. It's a little embarrassing. Sticking with the East, Shane, I'm sorry to put this all on you, but there were also two kind of disappointing victories that happened in the East. Appalachian State barely getting by something called Lindenwood, 20-13, and then Coastal Carolina limping along and barely beating Charleston Southern 13-0. In fact, I saw some, online personality for the Coastal Carolina give this game a B+. I was like, how do you give that game a B+? You scored 13 points on Charleston Southern. What the hell is happening here, Shane?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to judge them a little bit differently too. Coastal Carolina, they're in, what is this, year 3 of Tim Beck? And Like, they made changes to their offensive coordinator. Like, there seemed to be some tension on the staff last year. They made changes that should have like helped with that, and they're just not doing anything offensively. That's concerning. I don't know. I mean, like, it's early in the season to be thinking about like the future, but you got to wonder like how hot, Tim Beck's seat is getting right now. Especially when like I said, getting ahead of myself here, but is somebody like Billy Napier going to be available at the end of this season?
That could very well happen.
Yeah, I would be concerned if I was Coastal right now that they need to be doing a little bit better.
Yeah,
so maybe it's not fair to say that I'm not judging App quite as harshly, but again, it's week 2, game 2 of a new coaching staff. They're getting things together. They look solid against Charlotte in week 1. We're seeing more and more. I'm not sure coaches are always just out to crush the FCS team to come visit them as much as like, can we get a win without showing anything to our next opponent, which for App State is a conference game against Southern Miss that you really want to win that one. You really want to like get off to a good start in conference play under Dow Logan's. I kind of get it a little bit with App. Like, there was some concerning things. Like, they could have been a lot more successful offensively. But at the same time, we've seen this with other teams where like, we're like, what was wrong with them against this FCS opponent? And they really maybe were just kind of like squeaking by, getting ready for next week and play pretty well the next week. Throw Troy into that category. I may have been too harsh on them in their, week 1 victory.
We'll talk about Troy in a second. Yeah. And I think you're right about even though I lumped those 2 games in the same category, it wasn't really the same category. It's far more concerning for Coastal Carolina, in my opinion, having that struggle than Appalachian State, who already proved themselves fairly worthy in a game against Charlotte. And you're right, probably looking ahead to their week 3 matchup. Tim, let's bounce over to the West for a second. There was some redemption a little bit with Southern Miss kind of getting back into the winning ways, beating not a Jackson State of old. I think we all know it's not the Deion Sanders Jackson State, but Jackson State, they know the game of football. They know what shape a football is. They know how to throw a football, and they come away with the 38-20 win. Any impression about Southern Miss?
I'm still not buying the hype of the Huff Shuffle. Yes, Braylon Braxton, 20 of 30 for 214, 3 touchdowns. But the Eagles surrendered 322 yards to the Swagtastic Tigers, while they only totaled 363 yards. I think we're looking a little too much at the scoreboard and not necessarily peeling back the onion to see what's inside. And so far, it's not sweetness. It's maybe a little bitter.
All right. Maybe not the redemption we're looking for. Did the Cajuns get redemption over McNeese, winning 34-10?
Yeah, and they were dual threat there, Shane.
Ooh.
Daniel Bill debuted 14 of 22 passing for 86 yards and a touchdown, but the Bill Davis show rolled on 132 yards, 2 touchdowns to lift the Cajuns over the Cowboys 34-14.
Yeah, and at first started off a little bit slow, but then the Cajuns started picking up steam and taking care of that business. I don't know if I'm ready to say the Cajuns are now ready to go. I'm still a little bit steamed by that Rice score, but I guess we'll give them a benefit of the doubt until week 3. Another game that wasn't a win, but it had to make maybe some people feel a little bit better in Mobile. South Alabama, man, they were making the comeback in the 4th quarter, ended up falling to Tulane 33-31. I know, Thibodeau, I know we don't like to put our heart out for South Alabama because they broke it so many times. But was this is there such thing as a good loss when it's to Tulane?
I don't want to say FCS mentality there, Jeremy, but
it is a little bit. Oh my God.
it was a valiant effort. And I'll say this. I was impressed more with South Alabama. I was not a buyer of South Alabama coming into this game. They might have turned my head just a little bit there. Bishop Davenport goes for 231 and 2 touchdowns through the air, adding another one on the ground. Kentrell Bullock, 107 yards and touchdown. They definitely have the offense to really win some games in the Sun Belt West.
We have Voisin with 2 touchdowns, 150 yards. They've got some offense. I'm sure Tulane is just feeling glad they got out of Mobile. Still one of those games, just like that JMU game, that you wish escrow had been closed. Let's pop back into the East for just a second, guys. I guess we might as well just say it. Old Dominion just crushes North Carolina Central, right? So Old Dominion kind of does their job, right, Shane?
Yeah, and I mean, ODU's got to be feeling about as good as anybody in the league right now.
Sure.
You know, they lost that opener to Indiana, but Indiana
it was okay.
is a top 25 team, I think, and going to be really good again this year. Yeah, ODU, do what they're supposed to do at home. Like, bad news about Jason Henderson, but I mean, I think it was maybe starting to see the writing on the wall where he's just not playing very much, like at this point in his career. That, you know, it was taking a toll on him. But, you know, Colton Joseph, again, you know, lighting it up. I think he's going to be a real factor, a real player in the maybe like the conference award race this year. And, yeah, I think ODU is right there in the mix. Like, the league's down. Like, I think we can just go ahead and say it. Like, it's down this year. I don't know if it's going to continue to be down like in the future, if it's panic time or anything, but like league's down a little bit. But ODU, I think, is one of those teams that right now has to be feeling pretty good about their ability to compete for the East title.
Yeah, and why not? Colton Joseph, 4 total touchdowns, 3 passing, 1 rushing. And yeah, you got a good quarterback on the team. That might be all you need. You know, another surprising thing that came out of the East, at least until the end, I think I think the Memphis Tigers hit something like a 60-yard field goal to take the lead at the very end of halftime. But for a long time, Georgia State was winning that game, at least in the first half, and then it kind of got away for them in the second half. Final score: Memphis 38, Georgia State 16. For a team that got blown out by Ole Miss and to come away with a fairly reasonable game against Memphis, kind of a win for Dell, Coach or Dell McGee. Kind of a win. I mean, is this more FCS mentality for me?
To a degree, like it's the FCS mentality, but I think it's still rebuilding. I think we could underestimate the challenges that they face at Georgia State at times. They are in Atlanta, where they've got like a great recruiting base to work with, and they're getting some talent there. But you know, they're still like just, you know, as far as like their facilities and stuff. I mean, the Center Park old baseball stadium thing, it's a novelty and it's kind of cool to like visit it and see it every once in a while, but it's not the same kind of college football stadium atmosphere that most of the teams in the conference enjoy. So they've got a little bit of an uphill climb to turn it around, and you'd like to see them continue to compete in the second half the way they did in the first. But, you know, I guess I'm kind of grading some of these teams on a curve, and I'm, you know, giving Dell McGee and Georgia State a little bit more slack than some of the teams that didn't get it done this week.
By the way, TJ Finley did most of your work for the Georgia State Panthers. We saw a little bit of Cameron Brown too. He actually seemed a little more effective. But the guy getting all the work, Ted Hurst, he gets 95 yards or 97 yards, excuse me. We've been kind of waiting to see Ted Hurst break out. Let's get back to the West for just a second, Dusty Thibodeau. I hate talking about moral victories. All right, I get it. Moral victories aren't victories. They're still losses, right? And quite frankly, the Sun Belt was supposed to have evolved beyond moral victories. But Troy's got to feel pretty good about themselves after struggling so hard against their FCS opponent in week 1 for some time really putting a scare in number 8 Clemson.
Heartbroken, honestly. I mean, you really dominate the first half of the game only to fall flat the second half, unable to really move the ball offensively. And Clemson kind of woke up realizing that their season was on the line, honestly, because if they lose to the unranked Troy, it's going to be an uphill battle for them when it comes to ACC play. Hate it for them, but man, what a great show and what a great game.
Yeah, Goose Crowder looked pretty good that first half. And then the Troy offense blanks the second half. And you're right, that is disappointing. Again, though, Dusty, it's one of those things where the Sun Belt had a moment, a chance, an opportunity to say, hey, we're still on the stage, and we kind of blew it. We blew it again. It's a little disheartening.
Yeah. Jeremy, just rip the Band-Aid off. I know you're ready to say it. Go ahead.
Dude, I've got my own Band-Aid to rip off. I'm saving those for last. Texas State continues to impress, guys. They go to UTSA, their little rival. It's condescending of me to say their little rival. It's a rival they really don't like. In UTSA, American opponent, they always get up for Texas State. UTSA is now 0-2. Texas State is now 2-0, as we mentioned before. Their quarterback, Brad Jackson, throws for another TD. They're just kind of playing well. Texas State looks like they're in midseason form already, Dusty Thibodeau.
Just enough to win the game. But I'll tell you, that game was exciting. It was another one-score win for Texas State. Every game in this series has been a one-score difference. It was fantastic. Once again, it goes in the way of the Bobcats, 2 in a row for them. So Viva la Boobcats while you're still here.
Yeah, and you've got to just be impressed with this quarterback who, quite frankly, we didn't know much about coming in. 2 touchdowns on the ground, a touchdown passing. Lincoln Perry, I always call him Perry. He gets his 71 yards and a touchdown. That run game for the Texas State Bobcats doing very well. So G.J. Kinney, he looks like he's set to set the Sun Belt on fire before he leaves. That's what it looks like to me, Dusty.
Yeah, and I think that they're just going to keep rolling. I mean, they have a tough battle going out to Arizona State, I believe, this upcoming week that we'll preview in second and short in a future episode. But for right now, yeah, it's hard to say and hard to believe that Texas State might be living up to the hype because we haven't seen it these past 2 years under G.J. Kinney and with all the talent they've had.
It's like they had to leave before they could finally live up to the hype. That doesn't seem fair for the Sun Belt. Come on, guys. You could have broken this out earlier. Let's just pop just one more time back into the West. We'll talk a little bit about Georgia Southern. USC.
Georgia Southern's in the East, though. They were out West, but they're in the East.
Yes, thank you. I meant let's pop back into the East. Thank you, Tibbs, for setting me straight, setting me honest. Georgia Southern getting off that just frankly kind of an embarrassing loss to Fresno State. Just didn't show up at all in the second quarter. But USC, too much, too strong. They end up winning 59-20. I didn't get to see much of this game. Did you see any of this game, Shane Metlin?
I didn't see any of it. It was later than I wanted to pay attention and not on the network. I necessarily got
right.
attention to. I didn't watch much. I paid attention like a little bit like for the game cast and everything until it got out of hand, which was, didn't take that long really, like for it to be kind of clear where it was going. Not surprising given the first game against Fresno State, but still, I think a little disappointing that this is where we are with Georgia Southern right now when, we were initially kind of saying were they that team that could win the East, challenge JMU, like really be in the mix to break through and do more than squeak into a bowl game, which is what they've seemed to have done every year under Clay Helton. We thought maybe this was the year where they do a little bit more. Maybe it still is, but it's tough when you're 0-2 to like start thinking about 9-10 win season, really. Like you don't necessarily expect them to beat USC at USC, but you kind of expect that program to be in position at this point to be more competitive than they were on this little West Coast trip they took.
Yeah, you kind of think those Georgia Southern teams from the mid 2000s, so 2014, 15, that team will have given the USC Trojans a lot more trouble. JC French threw a couple touchdowns, but they looks like a couple other guys got in, including Weston Bryant and coach's son, Turner Helton, 4 for 9 passing, 24 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Thibodeau, we gotta address this, man. We've got to just take our lumps on this. Damn, I'll go first. It was a big day in Little Rock, Arkansas. For the very first time in the history of the game, Arkansas versus Arkansas State. Everybody was excited. Everybody was, wringing their hands in both anxiety and anticipation. The stadium was full. The tailgating was zesty. We had a great time. And then the game started. Arkansas came out, 2 plays, 1 touchdown, scored 4 consecutive touchdowns in the first quarter. It was over after that. It was tough to watch. Tibbs, did you see anything on TV that made it less tough to watch?
I was impressed with the kick return for the touchdown. And the fact that Arkansas State, 10 of 19 on third down conversions. It may not feel like it, Jeremy, but that tells me that they were able to move the sticks when it really mattered, and that they were usually looking at a second and short, insert your gong there, in order to be able to pull up that third down conversion. A little surprised that Corey Rucker, I figured he was kind of the marquee talent there, that he was held in check, only 3 receptions for 20 yards. Really thought that this would be kind of his coming out party and his time to shine against the Razorbacks.
Yeah, he was the double team guy for a lot of the game. You do wish that he had gotten more opportunity. He did receive a touchdown catch that was called back due to penalty, and that was kind of a hard deal. But in the end, a lot of disappointment for Arkansas State. You're right. Arkansas State offensively did have its moments. In the second quarter, they played quite well. Second half didn't play that bad. It really was the defense, and it showed against that SEC speed, SEC power, SEC budget, coming over the edge and just, gaining huge chunks of yards. It was at times tough to watch. There were moments to cheer, but quite frankly, Arkansas State fans left disappointed, especially with the game kind of 5 years in the making, 5 years to prepare for, and you only get 14 points and you give up 56. That's just pretty rough. Another rough game. And Tibbs, I think you knew it was coming. I think we kind of hoped that maybe you would get an Alabama that was unsure of itself, maybe second guessing. Instead, I think what you had said off camera was that what you saw was a very different type of Alabama.
They were not very happy, Jeremy, and I legitimately believe anybody in the country that would have played Alabama this past weekend would have had the same fare.
Oh,
11 possessions, 11 scores for the Tide in that game. They were pissed off. They were ready to showcase that they were not washed up, that they were not done. Kalen DeBoer is the right guy to lead this team.
wow.
And ULM just happened to be on the receiving end of it, and they definitely received it and every bit of it. Worst loss in program history. First time that Warhawks have been shut out since 2015, when ironically it was a 34-0 game at Alabama. Not a whole lot good happened other than Mackenzie Ryan, the punter, getting all the national pub for his clothesline tackle of the Alabama returner.
Oh, I guess I didn't see that. I'm going to have to check that out. Here is a stat that I find almost impossible. Aiden Armenta, 8 for 14, which isn't bad, for 28 yards. Wow. That's tough to do, Thibodeau.
You almost.
That is really rough. I'll tell you what, it's funny that you said that about the head coach for Alabama, how the team really kind of rallied behind him to make sure that everybody knows he's the right guy. I felt the same thing kind of happened with Sam Pittman for Arkansas. It was like Sam Pittman, that he came out there, he wasn't like going to mess around. You could tell that they really game planned for Arkansas State, identified the weaknesses, and they weren't going to let Arkansas State take a breath. And I have a feeling that's the same thing that happened to ULM. But still, just 2 more crushing losses. Add that to Georgia State's performance against Ole Miss. Add that to Southern Miss losing control over the narrative against Mississippi State. And right now, the Sun Belt just looks like a weak FCST conference out there, just getting body bag checks from the SEC right now. I know that the Sun Belt has done okay against the ACC with near misses, I guess, against Clemson and Louisville, but we look bad right now. Tibbs, talk me off the roof.
You know the meme of Vince McMahon where he's tearing up and kind of killing it?
Yeah.
That's all I can't say, but what that meme says is what should be inserted right here.
Oh, God. Wow.
It's bad. It's bad right now, Jeremy. And it's across the board. It's not like one team is just not carrying their weight. We're all bad. Yeah. The sun is not rising. The sun is setting.
Yeah. Shane, do you feel the same way that things are just going kind of crazy?
Yeah, it's a down year. I mean, it just is. And I think the only hope right now maybe is that your favorite term there, Jeremy, is the Sunbelt entropy. Maybe we won't get it as much this year. Maybe JMU, Texas State, or an ODU or somebody proves to be like the clear cut winner of this league and can run the table and do something to maybe get themselves into that playoff conversation. It's tougher now for JMU, I think, particularly like not taking care of business against Louisville. If they win that game, then I think they're really in the conversation. Right now, South Florida looks like the favorite. It's way too early to really get into that. Because what if Florida's actually bad? Who knows? But
we know that they probably are.
Yeah. So we don't know how some of these games are going to be viewed 10 weeks from now. But yeah, I mean, that's my kind of like, trying to find a silver lining is maybe some of these top teams aren't going to take a loss in conference play that can really hurt you as far as like trying to get into a really good postseason situation. It's going to be an uphill climb, but maybe that's like the one bright side to it.
Yeah, maybe you're right, Shane. I mean, maybe we kind of talk about Sunbelt parity a lot, not just entropy, but the parity of the league, how any team can come out with a victory. But maybe that's what the Sunbelt Conference needs is a bell ringer right now, a team that is just completely dominant and can raise some eyebrows nationally. But right now, it doesn't seem to be there. I know Texas State is 2-0. Have they really beat a marquee opponent yet? I'm not sure about that. James Madison looks really good, especially defensively, but could not close out that game. ODU, they could be a wild team. You don't know. Held their own against Indiana. But right now, we just don't know enough. There's not enough data. But damn, it is worrying the hell out of me. And now, Tibbs, we've come to the part of the show that you like the most. Do you want to introduce this part of the show?
Is this where we haze Shane relentlessly?
Well, that would be fun. That would be fun if we just took pot shots at Shane's expense. Because he's far away. He can't really get us physically. But you know what? He's a journalist, Tibbs. He could probably dig up some real information on us and then spread it all over the newswire. So maybe we should think twice about that.
But he's in the East. So, I mean, this is like our cross cross-division rivalry, right?
Is that what this is? Okay. All right. Well, no, I wasn't referring to a potential hazing of Shane Mettlen. There's something else. Something with 3 P's.
Punt, pass, and pick.
No.
Yeah.
No.
It's plugged promos and parting shots.
Yes. Oh, I love this part. Tibbs, do you want to go first? Because you seem real depressed.
Sure, if I have to. You know, it was a tough game to watch my alma mater, my team, my program just get manhandled by Alabama.
I feel your pain, man.
But you know, that's part of life. That's part of it, right? Everyone wants to, of course. Oh, ULM needs to drop down. Look at them; they suck. They can't compete against Alabama. I think Charlie Huff said it best.
Okay.
When they lost to Mississippi State, we have a good Sun Belt Conference team. We don't have a good SEC team, and I think that a lot of teams are going to find out that they don't have a very good SEC team because if that Bama team shows up for the rest of the season, they're going to finish the year 11-1 for the regular season. And so to know that ULM will possibly be on a T-shirt for the national champion Alabama Crimson Tide,
okay,
helping to contribute to them lifting the really big trophy from Commissioner Greg Stanky. Yes, I know what I said. I think that is our mark, our legacy of history. Is that a positive spin for it?
No, that seems like very FCS mentality, Tibbs. I need more from you.
Maybe we should drop down then.
No. Tibbs is dying out here, Shane Mettlen. Say something positive for Tibbs.
Well, you know, I was disappointed in your guys this week.
My guys? Or
yeah, I thought we'd see a very competitive game at Little Rock.
Yeah.
And see a real, rivalry develop
Yeah, sure.
there in the natural state. It didn't.
It did not, no.
But I think we have an opportunity later this year for something. The basketball schedules came out. JMU is going to Arkansas.
All right.
A basketball game.
Yeah.
Too much. I'm sure you know about Northwest Arkansas where they have some chickens there, I've heard.
There's a chicken industry that you may have heard of.
You may not know that, Rockingham County, Virginia surrounds JMU. Is basically the turkey capital of the world.
Wow. I did not know that.
So since this rivalry didn't really pan out.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's going to continue. I don't know if there's going to be any cool rivalry trophy coming out of this. If you were going to get that game again, I know the governor who said he hopes that it does, but
she says that it hopes it does. You misogynistic Easterner, but yes.
I actually did know who the governor of Arkansas was. Okay. And I forgot. I just saw the headline about the governor, and that was my bad. But if that doesn't happen, I think we could still get something in the Sun Belt, a big time rivalry with the Razorbacks, but we need some sort of poultry related trophy for this basketball series. Since Calipari, Preston Spradlin, they're tight. They've worked together. Maybe that can be the rivalry if the Razorbacks are going to keep running from the Red Wolves. Let's have some sort of poultry thing. I want Jeremy to come up with a trophy for this game.
I got the recommendation.
Talking about basketball, but that's my parting shot for this one is, let's not give up on having some sort of Sun Belt rivalry with those Razorbacks quite yet.
There's already the rack of rib trophy. Why not the chicken wing trophy?
A turducken trophy or something, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. You know what? If Arkansas State can't muster up enough competition to make a rival out of the Razorbacks, we're going to have to import it. And it might have to come from James Madison. Shane Mettlen, normally I would take that suggestion and tell you to stuff it one of your turkeys. But man, I am just a hollow shell of a man capable of only feeling pain after that game. So you go ahead and you take over that rivalry, Shane Metlin. I think I'm okay with it. My parting shot is actually a little bit of the same old, but I just got to bring it out. Guys, the group of five is dying. It's on a deathbed. Its most public-facing brands have been absorbed by the Power Four, and the most powerful two are seizing all the top-tier talent without penalty. And yeah, the Big 12 and the ACC, they're dying too. They just don't know it because they're dying a little more slowly. But they're dying too. But for the Sun Belt, just observe what has gone on in the last 2 weeks. Arkansas State, Georgia State, Southern Miss, and ULM destroyed by SEC opponents. Marshall occupying the SBC basement during, arguably during a rebuild, was defeated at home by CUSA's Missouri State. They just came in from FCS. Shouldn't Marshall, even in a rebuild, be further ahead? Louisiana neutered at home by Rice. Chicago Southern embarrassed by Fresno State. Coastal crushed by Virginia. And then they followed up by just scoring 13 against Charleston Southern. True, James Madison and South Alabama put up good fights against Louisville and Tulane, respectively. But losses are losses. L's are L's. There are no moral victories. The Sun Belt, we were supposed to be better than this, but we're not. And the hurt is everywhere. We are being shrunk out of existence. Our talent is being pulled out of our rosters. And then what we get is a bunch of malcontents in their places. The Sun Belt is suffering, but the pain is universal. It's personal for Arkansas State. It's personal for ULM. It's personal for all these teams that have to endure these beatings. But damn it, we're all going to be enduring these beatings because the college football landscape is being compressed into tiny regions. And we're letting it happen. And that's just going to be the end. What we're seeing is the end. And we just need to accept it.
I have no idea what you said, Jeremy, because I was on the phone with Alabama looking for my next NIL deal.
Sure.